For another round of the Penn State Blitz here on PennLive. Greg Pickel, hope you had a good Memorial Day.
It was eventful. Yes.
We have some interesting news to talk about with some quarterbacks, some recruits. We're going to get into maybe some of James Franklin's most important acquisitions since he's been there. But first down, let's talk about two Penn State quarterbacks, Greg. One is the current quarterback,
right,
Trace McSorley. The other is going to be Christian Hackenberg a little bit later. But Trace McSorley, I mean, everything is kind of trending up for him after two really productive years as a starter for Penn State, and a lot of people have kind of caught on to the fact that this guy not only is a true Heisman contender, you know, in many ways he could be a tough guy to beat out this year.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, CBS names him their top returning quarterback in the 2018 college football season. I guess it's not too much of a surprise. You do have some very good names around the country that are coming back, but for the most part, the landscape is pretty unproven, and Trace is anything but unproven at this point in time. Obviously, he's been really the rock for Penn State's offense besides Saquon Barkley for the last 2 years, and I think that at the end of the day, Bob, he has a lot of pressure on him to continue the success that Penn State's had without Joe Moorhead, without Saquon, without Mike Gesicki, Deshaun Hamilton. The question I think a lot of people are going to have is, how is he going to be able to do it? I think that he's the kind of guy that doesn't really worry about much, doesn't let too much get to him, and at the end of the day, that's going to be what helps carry him and Penn State's offense to similar numbers again this year. Yeah,
you just look what I always point out these numbers. You look at what he did in high school. 55-5 as a starter. In high school, 22-5, I believe, as a starter at Penn State. And 4 of those losses, of those 5 losses, they could have easily won. You talk about the Rose Bowl, Ohio State, Michigan State, the Pitt game. They were all winnable games for Penn State. You're talking about, you know, really, he keeps them in every game, except for the Michigan game in 2016. And you just wonder, it might be a good thing that maybe the focus is more on him. I think he's a guy that's really comfortable, you know, kind of taking the bull by the horns. He's got a good receiver coming back in Juwan Johnson. I think they feel good about Myles Sanders, but and the one thing people kind of overlook is what he can do with his legs. Not only just scoring, he's a tough, hard-nosed kid, but he can extend plays, and I think that really helps him make some plays down the field.
Yeah, there's no question about it, Bob. I mean, this is a guy that's done a little bit of everything and really has done whatever's been needed to carry Penn State to double-digit wins the last 2 years, so we'll see. But the praise and hype train keeps rolling for him.
Yeah, and now we're going to talk a little bit about a former Penn State quarterback, Christian Hackenberg. The news is not good. I just remember back to that bowl game against Georgia, his last game at Penn State. He got hurt early in the first half of that game against Georgia, and that was really when we first saw Trace McSorley. Trace played really well in the second half, but really that was the last time Christian Hackenberg actually played in a game. That was in the TaxSlayer Bowl. Second-round pick of the Jets. A lot of people thought it was early. 2 redshirt seasons, and they basically just gave him away to the Oakland Raiders for a conditional 7th-round pick.
Right.
I mean, are you surprised just how far he's fallen?
No, not particularly. I mean, I think that a lot of people knew that there would be challenges when he got into the system up there in New York, and that there'd be times when he was going to have to either not show up or get out, but essentially really show more than he did during the end of his high school career, his college career, and then also at the start of the summer camp and the drills and all that when he got to New York. So, no, not particularly. I think that you could tell the Jets got increasingly agitated, I think, with him and his lack of progress, and I think he got a little bit agitated by the fact that he didn't feel that maybe they were giving him the fairest shake or the best shot to be successful. So then you get John Gruden, who, of course, loved him coming out of college and could not say enough nice things and good things about him. I believe the quote was that he'd be shocked if he wasn't a first-round pick before the NFL draft that year. So, I mean, it makes sense, and for a conditional 7th, I mean, if they don't like what they see, they'll cut him and get the draft pick back. And Connor Cook, E.J. Manuel, I mean, it's not like it's the world's greatest backup quarterback competition behind Derek Carr. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and John Gruden loves every quarterback. That's one of the problems. But to not even get a snap, I know that he didn't play well in the preseason. The talent was there at one point at Penn State, but that was when Bill O'Brien was really kind of calling the shots. He had he did actually have a very good start under James Franklin. You look at what he did in the Ireland game, and he had some other moments early in 2014, but it just seems like the arrow just kept going down. He got hit a lot. I was always fascinated. What would Joe Moorhead have done
Yeah.
Hackenberg was his quarterback that first year. I think that's a fascinating thing to see how Joe would have maybe could have helped him, but it just seems like this guy needs to play. He's 23 now.
Yeah. Engaged.
He's engaged now, but you just wonder, is this his last stand in Oakland, or will somebody else maybe roll the dice on him, at some point during the season? Because I think he's facing long odds, I think, to stay with the Raiders.
Yeah, there's no question. It always shocked me that Bill never gave him a chance in Houston, but now that he has Deshaun Watson, there's no real reason for that. So I guess we'll see how it all plays out. To me, it's his last stand. Yeah. No question about it.
Okay, second down.